Drop it on them random.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of That Time in Hip Hop, a podcast about history, nostalgia in hip hop, but more importantly, preservation of hip hop music and culture. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. With me, as always, the homie Tony of IntoTheDome.com. What's good, bro?
Doing good, man. Just sipping on some Irish cream tonight. So I'm feeling good.
Oh, wow. All
Yeah.
right. And we got a special guest, you know what I'm saying, to help us, do this annual show that we usually do. Is the homie Earl, Ill Fam from Where's Buffy podcast.
Hey man, what's going on, man? What's going on, brother? Chilling.
All right.
And if you, the listener, the viewer, whatever, are watching, listening for the very first time, this is something we like to do here all the time. That Time in Hip Hop, we got a number of shows, over 60 shows, going over different points in history, from albums to movies to award shows to beefs. You moguls, you can name it, and we've probably done it. You know what I'm saying? At some point, including J Electronica before the albums drop, but we're gonna talk about that. But please know that this podcast is available also in audio form wherever you listen to podcasts. All you got to do is search for Hip Hop Now and type in those words. And your favorite podcasting app, doesn't matter if it's Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeart, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, it's everywhere. Just search for the words Hip Hop Now podcast. Hit that subscribe button. And That Time in Hip Hop is a part of the feed. Now we like to do a thing called This Month in Hip Hop, and this month in hip hop, which is December, on December 15th, 1998, Busta Rhymes released his third solo album, Extinction Level Event. Earl, since you are the guest on the show, man, when that album dropped in 98 for Busta, what was your thoughts on the album? And overall, what do you think about what you think about that album? What did you think about that album back then when it dropped? And what do you think about it today as far as classic status, or is it one of Busta's best albums?
It's for me, that album is the moment in hip hop where Busta Rhymes became Busta Rhymes. Like, of course, you got the Rah Dungeons and Dragons and everything that you got from Scenario, but when he got to ELE, it was, I've had some records and a lot of good singles. ELE was the first time Bus gave us a really good body of work to sit with, and it was jam after jam after jam. I was outside every weekend, so the Busta records that'll hit you in the club, hit you there, but he still give you he'll bar you up as well. So yeah, man, I love ELE. I'm a Busta Rhymes fan though.
No doubt, man. Tone, when the album dropped, ELE, what were your thoughts in 1998?
I mean, I thought it was dope. Busta's one of them guys where I feel like he kept improving with each project. Because like my man said, Busta always had the raw talent. He's like the cat that got drafted early with the Scenario with Tribe, and he had the raw talent. But each season per se, I always like to do hip hop like basketball. He got better, man. So by the time he got to ELE, you know what I'm saying, he was polished. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't just a raw hyper MC anymore. I think that each project he got better at making songs. He was always good at it, but the good thing is he kept improving, man. And by the time he got to this album, he had to give him some more real creative. You had to, what's it gonna be with Janet? And that, that ended up being, I think, one of Hype Williams' biggest budget videos. You know what I'm saying? I think it was over $2 million for that video. You know what I'm saying? So, but it worked. You know what I'm saying? Hype was doing his thing at the time with everyone from Missy to all these other creative artists. You know what I'm saying? But Busta as an MC, I felt like he was in his bag on that album. I don't know where I rank it in his discography, but it's definitely one of his better projects at that point in time. You know what I'm saying? But I thought it was dope, man. I mean, Busta didn't let us down. Big singles, dope album cuts. You know what I'm saying? He was just being Busta to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I knew what to get from Busta Rhymes personally. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't mad at him.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. I felt like in '98 when that dropped, that was like his peak. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
he reached a balance with his music on that album,
Mhm.
where like you say, he had the rah rah Buster joints. That was easy because that's what he always did. That's what he came up with. But then he kind of got that "Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See" glow. You know what I'm saying? Where he liked the song with Janet and all of that. He was able to kind of give you more variety.
Mhm.
Um, I do feel, especially going back, I do feel like that probably might be his best album. Maybe not my favorite, and that's not even against it because that's just preference thing. But when I went back, I was like, man, this album is dope in '98. Like, I don't think it was not one whack record on that shit. Like, and
It's
like you
one.
said, Earl,
It's one.
what's that one?
It's a weird record toward like the back end of it. I can't remember, but it just didn't fit with the record, and it was kind of over goofy. It was just different for me. And Buster would always go for that kind of like taking chances type records. There's one record I
Yeah.
can't think of it that I did not like on the back end of that album.
Yeah, yeah, and like I say that all the time too. Like there are classic albums where I know I hit the skip button on certain records. Like I say it all the time. I know some people like it, but on Illmatic, soon as I hear "One Time for Your Mind" coming on, I'm like, nope, skip. You fucking up the
Hey, man,
rotation.
stop that. Stop that. Stop, stop
Like,
that.
like, nah, I need the
But you know what,
rotation to
though?
continue.
If you think one time for your mind is whatever, which I dispute that. But anyway, think about Biggie, friend of mine, shit on Ready to Die, or Kanye graduation, that drunken hot girl on graduation. You know what I'm saying? And shit,
Yeah,
even
Drunken High Girl.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yo, do the Buster Busters the song I do not like on that.
but you
Do the
know what?
Buster
The
Bus,
remix on the Violator joint was crazy.
the remix. Yeah,
On the
it was.
Violator joint,
Now
Yeah,
let
it was
me.
just a little campy for me, but the rest
yeah,
of the record is amazing. I
yeah.
say
Yeah,
4.5 mics personally.
Mm.
4.9. What do you say,
Yeah.
Tone?
I get 4 mics.
4 mics. I think I go with 4 also. I think like it was a time. Didn't he have a joint with Mystical on there too?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was
Mystical was
my
on
shit.
there.
I can't front. That was my shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is
I
they
think I
wilder
give it.
with
I
us?
think I give it 4.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh, but to you, the listener, the viewer, that album, 1998, Busta Rhymes, the original ELE. What did you think about that album? Maybe you never heard it. Did you go back and listen to it after hearing the sequel, which dropped in 2020? Leave your comments in the comment section below. But now we're going to get into the main topic at hand. And if you've read the title, you already know what we're talking about, man. We're talking about the best hip hop projects of 2020. We know it's been a trying year as far as everything that's gone on and still going on. But ironically, and maybe not ironically in a lot of ways, we got a lot of dope hip hop that came out. And I know at some point when I appeared on Kill's podcast, Apartment 5B, shout out to him, in like June, what you had so far, I kind of had albums because they were the albums that were out. That list is completely changed at this point. Like, it's not many survivors. Tone was on that episode as well. So we're going to get into it, man, and we're going to start with you, Earl. What is one, and no order, by the way. They don't have to be in any order, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Just your top 5. And also, we're going to mention an honorable at the end. But, Earl, let's start with you. What's one of your top 5 projects or albums for 2020?
Yo, the one I figured it wouldn't be on anyone else's list is Hard from Joel Ortiz and Crooked Eye. Really good project. It was an EP, not an album, but I mean it was a case of shout out to Brother Math. It's not a case of them. I expected it would be a bunch of rapidy rap, and there was that, but they took time to actually to visit song concepts and theme and give you some thematic records and not just I'm a rap and give you every bar I can think of. They actually put time in it. But if you listen, my favorite joint was Catching Bodies, which is over that the 97 mentality, the cannabis freestyle that everybody loves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They went rapidy rap over that, and I mean they both left Earth.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that project. I think a lot of people forgot about it because it came out so early. But I think what they did was what I wanted Slaughterhouse to do more of, which was
Yep.
collaborate like a group. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't just you do your verse, I do my verse, and song over. You know what I'm saying? So I totally agree. Tone, what did you hear that project? What's your thoughts on it, real quick? And then what's one of your
Yeah.
top five?
Yeah, I only heard it one time, man, but it was good. You know, it was short.
Mhm.
But it was good, and like you said, it wasn't just okay. Let me spit like 1,000 bars. You know what I'm saying? It had some structure, song structure to it, and it sounded good and cohesive, man. It wasn't just cats just rhyming like, okay, I'm just gonna email you all these verses. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Slaughterhouse kind of fell into that, even though the guys was hanging out together. It never sounded like they was together, even though they was in the studio together sometimes. But it sounded like they was emailing verses together. But
Yeah.
it wasn't the case with this project, man. So yeah, it's a sleeper. It was dope.
And what's one of your top five of 2020?
Look, man, one of mine is that damn Alfredo, man, with Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist, man. Listen, let me just say this real quick. For better or for worse, man, Freddie Gibbs knocks him out the park. Okay, his projects, man, the dude know how to make albums, and that's a skill in hip hop that a lot of people don't look at as a skill, but it is a skill. This guy, no matter who he works with, the songs always seem, the album always sequenced right to me. The production is always right. Look, man, he killed this album. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, my favorite from him is probably the Pinata, but this Alfredo is right there. It's not too far off, man. That 1985, that Scotty Beam and Rick Ross died is perfect. Yo, man, the dude delivered. Easily one of the top 5 albums of the year, in my opinion.
What you think about that project, Earl?
It's my favorite album this year. It's my favorite album this year. Tone said it all, man. Fred makes good albums. He's not going to rippity rap you to death, but you are going to be very, very entertained. And the melodic, and he's a flow rapper, right? That actually will slide a lot of bars in. So he's like a perfect marriage of an MC. So yeah, he's dope, man. He makes amazing music, and it's a great follow up to Bandana.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. It was in my top five back in June. But I totally agree with Freddie Gibbs, man. He just doesn't miss, man. And it's to me, it's like his flow and his attention to detail, his enunciation of his words. You know what I'm saying? As he rhyme, like it's just a lot of confidence in his craft, and you can and it comes out. You know what I'm saying when you hear it. I'm gonna go with Nas's King's Disease. Coming off of 2 disappointing projects in Nasir and the Lost Tapes 2, I think Lost Tapes 2 was probably more disappointing than Nasir because at least with Nasir, we didn't know what we was going to get. With Lost Tapes 2, you got a classic part 1 basically that you're following up that people have been craving for years. And even though it wasn't a new album, it still was a project that disappointed. But I was surprised by King's Disease, knowing he was working with Hit Boy. I didn't know what direction the album was going to go. I didn't know if it was going to work, at least not with every song. And I found myself liking more than I thought I would, off that album. And then, when you listen again, you like, damn, I'm really kind of feeling some of these records. And I think what him and Hit Boy did is kind of what I thought when I heard Life is Good. I felt like older Nas need to make these albums. This Life is Good vibe, I feel like that's what King's Disease is. A little bit of younger Nas sometimes, sprinkle it in there a little bit with the bars. a little bit of, Esco sometimes, give you a little bit of older Nas, and never really step out of pocket. And I remember seeing like Spicy, and I'm like, wait a minute, he rhyming with Fabio Foreign and Ferg. I don't know what the hell it's going to sound like.
Yeah, I was worried.
Yeah, until I heard it, and I was like, if we wasn't in a pandemic, this is the song of the summer. You know what I'm saying? Like easy and parties and when you're in Miami and all that shit. So I was really surprised by it. Some of my favorite tracks off of here, 27 Summers, Ultra Black. I like that joint. It kind of grew on me, to be honest. Car 85 with Charlie Wilson. I like Full Circle, but I don't like Foxy's verse because I feel like the three brothers kind of set a tone. And then she just came in like, oh, y'all remember me? Like, and it was just, I don't know, it just kind of took it in a different direction. And it has more to do with her content than her performance, which is fine. I mean, they don't ruin the record for me. Big Sean ruins records for me on this joint, but we're not going to talk about that. But Tone, Nas, King's Disease. Well, matter of fact, let me stop doing that because y'all might have shit on your list. And I don't want y'all to blow your load on the opinions and then say, well, I already talked about it. But you can go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, Nas King Disease was one of my top 5, but that's neither here nor there. So it's okay. You know what I'm saying? I'll just go in and say that when I first heard about Hit Boy doing it, I didn't know what direction they were going to go in. But one thing I appreciate from Hit Boy with doing this project with Nas is he didn't overproduce. Sometimes you can overproduce. It's like, damn, man, I'm getting lost in all this shit. You know what I'm saying? But he made the beats that was just good enough to let Nas rock. Because Nas, just let him rock. You know what I'm saying? So I really love that Blue Benz. Blue Benz made me think about old Nas. The storytelling, the beat change, the flow. Even gave you a little bit of Smoother Hustling and Trigger the Gambler. One little quick point in that song, if you go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
It's a little Trigger the Gambler and Smoother Hustler in one of the verses real quick. But that joint, Car 85, The Cure, The Definition. Yeah, man, Nas got busy on King's Disease, man. And the funny thing is, I'm about to full circle real quick. I actually like Foxy because, yes, her subject matter, she was way off subject. But I thought she came in so dope on some old, I'm just rocking with the fellas. You know what I'm saying? So they was kind of rapping about chicks and about how they used women and all that stuff like that. Foxy said, fuck all that. I ain't gonna talk about no dudes. I just gonna say I'm dope in the CT. So I think it's like that, so that allowed me to kind of accept what she was doing, man. But yeah, man, also Black was pretty good too. I just thought it was a dope album, man. Not mad at Nas. And just real quick, I did have expectations because the Lost Tapes 2 let me down because Nas got about 40 or 50 dope unreleased songs, and I thought that it was going to really be a continuation of the Lost Tapes 1 when you think about all of the joints from the I Am and Nostradamus, Napster leaks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all the stuff that didn't make Stillmatic, you know what I'm saying, like Star Wars and The Rise and Fall and all of this. So Nas could have created 2 or 3 more amazing Lost Tapes, man. So I was disappointed in what they were doing with that outside of, you know what I'm saying, QB politics and that relationship beautiful. The rest of it I didn't really love, but he came strong with King's Disease, man. At his age right now, it's more like a victory lap. You know what I'm saying, with King's Disease, and I ain't mad at him. I thought it was very dope.
Yeah, word. Earl, did you have that on your top 5, and how you felt about it?
I didn't, but I love the album because Nas didn't try on this album, and what I mean by that is he wasn't trying to recapture something. He wasn't trying to prove a point. He said, you know what? I'm at a stage where I don't have anything else to prove to these niggas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make music that I enjoy making. And then everybody talks about Nas's production and him working with one producer, and Hit Boy has been on one, to be honest. He had a decent 2020, 2019. So I think it was a perfect timing, perfect pairing, and the album came out amazing.
Totally agree, especially on the Hit Boy side of things. So what's another one of your top 5 of the year? Or
Burden of Proof, Benny the Butcher. I couldn't take that off my phone. Like I had to, I'm a title guy. I do title for the for my digital service provider or whatever. And you got to scroll through your album library. I keep having to undownload it, re-download it, so it's at the front of the albums that I want to listen to.
Yeah.
That album, I felt like him and Conway were competing this year, and it was like one would put something out and try to up the ante on each other. And I mean, that just whole little mob of dudes, you know what I mean? And I would say Griselda, but also with the addition of like, because Royce is around, that keeps popping up on that albums. And actually Gibbs pops up on that albums too. Yeah. And they just kill it, yo. And One Way Flight is my favorite record on there. And I'm gonna tell you what's funny about that is I had just bought a Toyota right before he comes out when you want to cry in that Toyota and it's Maybach, and I was so mad. It was so funny to me, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that Burden of Proof was amazing this year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like Benny the Butcher is my next to Kendrick, like my favorite rapper, and coming off of Tana Talk 3, and I was like thirsty. And when I heard Burden of Proof, man, it just has. I like how it kind of pays homage to the mid to late 90s, probably more so late 90s than anything, especially with the Pain in the Ass skit and the Mad Rapper and producer shit. And it also kind of has a Reasonable Doubt feel in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily production, but just from where Benny's speaking from. You know what I'm saying? Because Jay-Z spoke from like a hustler standpoint, and I feel like Benny did a lot different with his lyrics than he usually does as far as his subject matter. He was moving to the next stage of his form and shit. Tone, what you think about Burden of Proof, Benny?
Well, you know what? Burden of Proof is in my top 5, and Ben is another guy like Freddie Gibbs to me, man. You know what? He just doesn't let me down. You know what I'm saying? I mean, from the Tana Talk and to all his other projects I'm gonna tell you, I keep that joint with him and Black Crown for Kings or whatever on repeat all the time. I play it like every week. You know what I'm saying? Like, Ben is like Jay-Z little brother. You know what I'm saying? You can tell he studied hoes, hence 97 hoes, right? So, I mean, it's just he got that vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, this album is dope as hell. One Way Flight is my favorite song on the album as well, Earl. And, man, Famous, Timeless. I mean, dope songs. He has a great ear for beats. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Ben is just a good MC, man. Just like Freddie Gibbs. You know, they good MCs, man. They make good music. I never listen to a project and I'm like, man, shit could have been better. I ain't really rocking with. Nah, they give me what I need. You know what I'm saying? And another dope project from Benny, man. Not mad at all. It made my top 5. I'm looking forward to him doing more music, man. I rock the dude.
And that one is the departure. This is also another all Hit Boy produced album.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, Hit Boy killed it this year.
Yeah, and I think what I like most about that is when you listen to Nas's production, listen to Benny's production, it's so varied. It's like this nigga Hit Boy he has every beat. Like you could probably ask him for any kind of beat, and he got one. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? He's better than I thought he was. Let me say that. I thought he was always solid, but for me, this was his year along with Alchemist. This was his year for me, and I always thought he was pretty good, man. But he's actually better than I thought he was. Like you said, he has beats for all different type of artists that work for them. And Nas' album don't sound nothing like Benny album. You know what I'm saying? So it worked, man. Like big ups to him this year too.
Exactly. Another one of my top 5, we're gonna keep it in the family. Conway the Machines, From a King to a God. Man, when I first listened to this album, I listen to all these albums when I'm in the gym. For review purposes, but also once I like them, I stay in heavy rotation. And I remember like listening to this Conway joint, it was hitting me different lyrically because I felt it was a really personal, deep album for him. I felt like he put a lot of like he always does that anyway, but it's like in a bar here and a bar there, where he kind of gets a little personal and talks about his life and people he lost in certain situations. And I just felt like this album did a lot of that, and it gave me a greater appreciation for him as a lyricist, because it also felt like he was moving a step further with this sound. Not just the production. The production was on point, of course, but even lyrically. Because I was wondering, all the projects Griselda put out, it's like, well, damn, when you on a major, what do you have left that's going to be better than the shit that we already loving? You know what I'm saying? And I think between him and Benny, they kind of showed us that, well, we have another level, another layer to our music. And one thing that made me, because Benny's not in my top 5, which is crazy, being one of my favorite rappers. I mean, it's only 5 slots. But I feel like on Conway's joint, what tipped the scale for me wasn't Benny versus Conway. It was, I feel like the features are stronger on Conway's album. You know what I'm saying? As far as, except for the Freddie Gibbs joint, that shit is crazy on Benny's joint. But I felt like on Conway's joint, the features were a little bit stronger. And there's probably one record I don't necessarily skip, but it sounds off. It's the joint with what's Shorty's name?
Amani Caesar.
Amani Caesar, yeah. It sounded like that was the track that Drake was supposed to be on, because it sounded like a Drake track. But that's the skip. Is still kind of crazy.
That is my skip, though.
Yeah, it sounds. In some ways, it just sounds way too out of line. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, some of my standouts, Method Man's feature. I mean, people talk about it all like the whole time. Like, yo, Method Man sounded great on that Lemon joint. Flea Lord and Havoc on Juvenile Hell. Like, that record was ridiculous to me. Lloyd Banks.
Is that the joint Banks? Yeah.
Lloyd Banks on there, killing it. Even the joint he got with Freddie Gibbs, Seeing Everything But Jesus.
Yep.
Dope. Spurs 3, just what we come to expect from Griselda Records. And I think what I like the most about it, it's probably just because of me, is I feel like the album is not too long. You know what I'm saying? Where I feel like the momentum doesn't leave me at no point. And I just thought it was a really dope album, and it kind of like sat with me for a long time, and still to this point. So I loved it. That's why it's in my top 5. Tone, From a King to a God, was it in one of your top 5 picks? And what you think about the project overall?
What's funny is this year was actually pretty damn good for hip hop, because it wasn't in my top 5, but it could have been in my top 5. I thought I did it by mistake. You know what I'm saying? But it was hard, man. Like, it was one of my favorite Conway projects, even though it's considered his debut album. I look at projects as all of them albums to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't care about it's your first major label. I don't care about that shit. This is another dope project by Conway. He had dope productions from Havoc, DJ Premier, Eric Sermon. You know, he had all these guys on here. And being from North Carolina, I was glad to see Crisis on there as well. You know what I'm saying?
Crisis on the board with the heat.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So obviously I'm a little biased because, these are my peoples out here in North Carolina. So yeah, dope album, man. Dope beats. Conway, as usual, give you that hardcore flow and hard lyrics. He was vulnerable on some verses. Like, you want to hear MC give you a piece of themselves. You know what I'm saying? He did a good job with that, man. So yeah, it could have easily been in my top 5, man. It wasn't, but hey, dope ass out.
What you say, Earl?
Oh man, it was definitely in my top 5. Probably my number 2. Already Got It. Like, listen, that song I hate because it's 2 records in one. It's Doe and Damani. And that's my favorite record on there. But if I wasn't in my car, I'm skipping midway through and just going to the with the Tupac sample from Juice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Why get to hold the gun? Because I already got it, you know what I'm saying? That's man. I rolled around and wasted gas listening to that album, man, when it came out this summer, man. Or is that early fall? It was that early fall, late summer?
Yeah, I think so.
Just, man, I was definitely, man, I was outside with it, still in that Toyota. You know what I mean? Jamming that joint, man. It was definitely one of my favorite albums this year.
No doubt. Tone, let's go to another one with you since that was in Earl's top 5. What's another one that was in your top 5?
Well, man, Busta Rhymes and Extinction Level 2 was in mine, yo. You know what? I know Busta finished a lot of it back in 2012, 2013. They did do some more recording again over the last 2 years, as far as like, the joint with Rhapsody and Knife, because Knife had told me about it, a couple of months ago before it came out. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like Busta sounded hungry again. The flow was immaculate. I like the production, man. I like the variety. The intro with Rakim and Pete Rock. I mean, the God of Rakim. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, I like the joint with Mary J. Blige. She killed the chorus, man. And Busta got real deep on that track, man. Man, what else I like on that joint, man? Like I said, the intro, Master Farah Muhammad with Rick Ross, man. I like that joint a lot, man. And True Indeed, the joint Deep. Yo, man, like, I ain't mad at Busta, man, because you know what? When you're a legend in the game and being out, over 25 years, when you still can put a project like that together and still rhyme the way Busta. See, the funny thing about Busta Rhymes is a lot of people just look at his animation and stuff like that. Busta's an
Yeah.
MC. Busta Rhymes can fucking rap. His lyrics are crazy, flow is insane. And like I said, man, it was a lot of songs on here. I really think that if you just chop this down about 14 songs, this could have been easily his best album if you chop it to 14, but it was still very dope. I enjoyed it. I still listen to it. Man, I ain't mad at it at all. He had a joint with Q-Tip on there. He always keep Q-Tip on almost every one of his albums. He makes sure that Q-Tip is on there because he said in an interview recently that outside of Chuck D, Q-Tip was his big brother in the hip hop and kept mold him into the MC and artist he is. He said Chuck D and Q-Tip did that for him, and so he always makes sure he keep Q-Tip, on there, and he keeps something from J Dilla on there. You know what I'm saying? He always tries to do that. So, man, big up to Busta Rhymes, man. Salute to him, man. Dope album, bro.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had it in my top 5 also for all the same reasons you said, man. And again, it's another thing where the features work for me. Now, I do have maybe one skip. I'm not a big fan of dancehall Busta, not at all,
Right.
not at all. So, Give Me the Light remix, and around that time, I kind of dug those. But
Right.
sometimes when he's trying to go too heavy in that bag, I'm like, yo, chill. I don't want to hear that, Busta. But overall, you're right, Tone, man. It was almost unexpected. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew Busta probably had some heat on here, but I just didn't know what to expect. And it kind of blew me away. Like you said, Rakim is on here. The joint with him and Q-Tip, they might as well just make an album. Because I feel like every time they do a song together, it's perfect. Kind of takes you back to the scenario when they followed each other, and it kind of worked with Q-Tip's voice and Busta's voice. Look Over Your Shoulders with Kendrick, another dope record. You know what I'm saying? Like what they did with the Bell Biv DeVoe Poison sample. Just dropped a video for that. One thing I probably would take away is like fall back on the Chris Rock just a little bit, just a little bit, man. Just a little bit, because I felt like I get what they were doing, but it almost became annoying for me because the album was so good. I just want to hear some music. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like it makes me skip any records because of it. I just think it's dope. Earl, you said Busta is your favorite, so I'm guessing he's probably in your top 5.
He's one of my favorites. But yeah, no. Busta, I definitely was in my top 5 this year. Same thing with Nas. Bus wasn't trying to prove anything with this album. He just made music. He made the music he liked with the people he liked, and it came out. It shined through. The goddamn the Primo record. So I had gotten my hands on a bit of an early copy, and so the names of the songs were different. I think they call on the first the test press version of the Busta album. You remember the test press Nas album. But the test press version of this album called the Primo record Dookie. So so Dookie was my favorite record, and I'm just hitting repeat on it. But then I realized the records it was surrounded by with the dirt sample and the and the Q-Tip record, and I was like, all right, well I can play it through. And then I was like, well, hold on, the song after that is hard too. The what's the kid with the drums from Cali? Anderson .Paak. The Anderson .Paak record is crazy. It's Bus does an amazing. Bus is a great artist, right?
Yep.
And what I think he's doing, I think he's trying to do something purposeful after the album. After he put it out, we also got like an extended version of it. But he's also doing. I think he's already put out like five videos from this album. Because he did, and I think he's gonna keep doing that. And I think Bus is trying to prove a point because a lot of heads, maybe a bit younger than myself, don't have Busta respect. They's like, oh, he's the woo-ha nigga, and they don't see him as a great artist or a nigga that could bar. And I think he's trying to get that respect, but like he's going backwards with it. He gave you the music first, and now he's giving you a reason to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think with so many hits that Busta has, I feel like we always hear the same records, right? Like when it comes to them old school mixes, you're gonna hear "Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See." You definitely gonna hear that the majority of the time. But Busta got way more hits than that. Like he been had a greatest hits that was crazy, Pastor Cavassier, all of that, and you feel like some of that shit don't get any burn. And I think, like to your point, Earl, that's where it's like, well, how do y'all not know Busta is crazy? Like,
yeah, because Busta the hell of the verses.
I saw Bus live. He was doing 10 seconds of 15 songs. Every time he did the 15 songs, people went crazy. He like cut the song off, and it just kept going. And you like building and building, man. I don't know, man. KRS and Busta Rhymes. I don't know who puts on the best show I've seen in hip hop, but it's between them two dudes.
Yeah. Oh, let me also say this real quick too. As far as this level too, man, the title track with Farrakhan, man. Farrakhan had me put my black fist in the air, man. When that nigga was talking, bro, I was like this, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, Farrakhan spit some shit on there, and then Bus came in with that 5 verse, and when that beat dropped. So yeah, man, that was real dope. It's one of my favorite parts of the album.
I made the mistake of listening to that record on the way to work.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, you do that. It's gonna be a different work day.
It's mad for no reason and shit.
Yeah, right. So both of y'all, what y'all have? One album left as far as top 5?
I think we've done all 5 of my top 5 albums.
I got one more.
Okay. Well, I got 2, so I'm gonna say one and then I'm gonna come back to y'all. Another one that's in my top 5, very controversial when it dropped. I didn't think, I was kind of like, man, this is it. And then I kept listening and I was like, all right, it's not what I wanted, but I think this shit is hot. I know Tone does not like it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's Jay Electronica, basically featuring Jay-Z, a written testimony. I think it's because I mean, obviously a lot of Jay-Z's performance has a ton to do with it. But I like the production. I like the variety of the production. And I think because it's such an unexpected, kind of weird album in a lot of ways, because it doesn't really make sense why this was the first thing to come out, Jay Electronica, to feature Jay-Z, but something about it worked for me. And every time I hit play, I'm thinking like, does this really belong in my top 5? I'll be rocking to that shit. And before I know it, it's over. I mean, the shit is only like 10 songs, 40 minutes. And I think that's what worked for me. You know what I'm saying? Not just the time and all of that, but what I liked about it was short and sweet. and by the time I could possibly get tired of it, it was already over. So for me, it worked. Tone, let's just get you out the way, and let's see, because I know it was June when we kind of talked about the album on Kills podcast. But Tone, has your opinion changed on that album, or is the shit still putting you to sleep?
Nah, still NyQuil. So, unfortunately, and this is why. This is why. So when I remember hearing Exhibit C and all that shit, I said, damn, I think he's next up. Then I heard that Ghost of Christopher Wallace. Then I heard that Prayer for Mike Vick and T.I. Then I heard that Shining Suit Theory, the original version. Then I heard all of these joints by Jay Electronica, and I was like, damn, dog. Like, it's one of those times where when I first heard Cannabis on Beats from the East, you know what I'm saying? When I first heard certain MCs, I'm like, oh, they can't deny this type of cat. And so, again, when his original album got pushed back and we didn't hear that recently, that shit put me to sleep too. You know what I'm saying? But then, when this came, I'm like, damn, well, Jay-Z took over the album. Jay-Z sounded fresh. He sounded fresh on the album. He sounded like he was in album mode. Like I thought we was gonna get a Jay-Z album about 2 months after this album, because Jay sounds so fresh on the Jay Electronica. To me, sounded so uninterested in doing this project. And it was like Jay-Z loved him so much, like, no, I get in the fucking studio with you. We're gonna rock this joint out together. And it's like Jay was like pushing Jay Electronica because he know how talented he is. You know what I'm saying? So don't get me wrong. There was moments in the album where Jay Electronica said some dope shit, conscious joints, whatever. The production is interesting, but dog, I can't drive to it because I might fall asleep and crash. You know what I'm saying? So it's some shit like I gotta sit back in the house I'm on a vibe and meditate and kind of soak it in. I like that Soulja Slim joint. There's a few joints on that I can kind of feel, but my expectations with certain guys is so high when I hear their early work, man. So I know you rock with, I ain't mad at you, but we had a conversation a couple of months ago and nothing has changed.
Well, let me do that, since I didn't really say what I like off of it. I do like Ghost of Soulja Slim. My favorite track is probably The Blondin, which I think is up for a Grammy as well. Well, the album is also, which is also weird in a lot of ways. Shining Suit Theory, I still like this version. I know all the beat makers is like, yo, is it mixed right? Nigga, I don't give a fuck about that. Mixed right, the whole Wu-Tang first album sound like that shit was made in a room and we loved it. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. It was, the whole joint was made like that. What else I liked off of Ezekiel's Will? I liked off of here. Universal Soldiers. There's a couple of joints on here, but to your point, Tone, I mean, it's true, because I think what I like about it is probably Jay-Z more than anything, because I think if it was called, the J album, you know what I'm saying, and then we're looking at the group as opposed to looking at it as Jay Electronica's project, then I'll probably view it a little bit differently. But for them to say Jay Electronica has an album coming out, Jay-Z's all over it, and Jay-Z's outshining him, it's a really weird project. But when I hit that play button, I'm on. You know what I'm saying? I'm on board.
Real quick though, man, ain't that the weirdest thing ever though, guys? Like, I've never seen like a major release and you have a feature MC. You're not considered a group, but you have how in the world do you even? There's legendary artists who didn't even get Jay-Z to do a verse for him. How in the world do you get Jay-Z to do half the album?
I will say there is an album where it was an artist debut and it was featuring a whole other rapper that was amazing. And if you look over Vegas' shoulder, it's called Only Built for Cuban Links featuring Ghostface Killah.
That's true.
That's true.
But they kind of because he did the same thing on Iron Man.
Yeah, it felt like a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never say Ghostface outshine Ghost. I mean, outshine Ray, and it was his solo. But I feel comfortable saying that shit with Jay Electronica.
Because Raekwon was all over Iron Man.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, and that's kind of how Wu get down anyway. Like, you can almost expect there to be a bunch of Wu members. Earl, what you think about the album, A Written Testimony, when it dropped? Like, did your expectations say, what the fuck is this? Or do you like, it's all right, but I'm moving on?
Here's the problem with that album: is anticipation kills everything, right? Because once niggas got Exhibit C, we were supposed to get the world from Jay Electronica, and what ended up happening to Jay Electronica, in my opinion, is To Pimp a Butterfly was the album that Jay Electronica was supposed to put out. But when Kendrick put it out, it was like, I can't do that now. I can't put out this conscious body of work because it's going to get compared to this amazing album. So I'm just gonna sit back with my little Rothschild chick and you know what I mean, and survey the scene. And I think he got too comfortable. It felt like Jay-Z did what 50 did with Pop Smoke's album. He says, okay, Jay, you got this skeleton of an album. Give me that. Boom. I'm going to put myself on it, and we're going to finish these songs and put it out. We got to do it. It's time.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
So opinion-wise, I definitely could have had a V8. It was cool for me. It wasn't whack, but there were definitely projects that came out this year that I was way more into, and I was shocked and almost appalled at the Grammy nod. But what you gonna do? I'm just glad it wasn't Bad Bunny or one of them old whack niggas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I totally agree. Because look, I'm on. It's a funny thing because I like it, but I ain't mad at nothing y'all said because the shit is absolutely true. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt the same way. Exhibit C was supposed to be one thing, and that's what we was expecting. That's where you set the bar, and we had to wait 10 years to get a project. And Jay-Z's not only is Jay-Z all over it, he's better than you on every song. Something wrong with that. Usually niggas get dropped.
It is Jay-Z.
Yeah, but don't make me start bringing up old shit, get niggas upset. You know, he can be outshined. He can be outshined.
He can be, but I would say over the course of a project, that's a tall glass to fill. That's a very tall order.
Yeah. Don't get me in my Watch the Throne bag because I really felt like Kanye was better. But let's just
man, I just wish that album was good.
Yeah, that's just nice. Throw that in lane. So Tone,
broke weed up on it.
What's your final of your top 5 your album for 2020?
Man, it's probably, man, that damn Reasonable Drop, man, by Stove God, man. Like that joint crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's some of the craziest rhymes I've heard in years, man. Like, Stove God's sick, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I like that Rolls Royce joint, man. Bread of Life, Crosses. Yeah, man. Like, it was an ill production. He has a rhyme style that doesn't remind me of nobody. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. Like, I thought it was some other shit. One of my homies called me about it before it came out. A friend of mine had a copy of it because he's cool with somebody that did some work on it. And he's like, oh, this Stove God joint, I'm going to see and you still missed to listen to it. And I heard that joint, and I was like, he was like, yo, listen to this and call me back in like an hour. I called that dude back and said, man, you was right, man. I ain't never heard nothing like this before. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I thought it was real dope, bro.
Yeah, Earl, we talking about Stove God Cook's Reasonable Drought. What you think about that album for 2020?
Cook's got an unorthodox flow. He kind of drags the beat with him. Kind of like almost like, you remember how old Common used to really, really drag the beat, and now he just loses the beat. Well, we'll talk about that another time. So when I first heard Cooks, I was like, I don't know. Like, and all, like, my man, shout out to Broccoli Balboa, shout out to Matt Damon. And they was just like, yo, it's hard. And I honestly didn't sit with that full project, but he put out he freestyled on the Godcast. Was it the Godcast? The Lord Jamar and Rod Digger joint?
Yeah, it was.
He freestyled on that joint and he went stupid. So actually, my goal this week was to go back and go ahead and revisit that and really sit with it and give it a chance because I'm a crotchety old hip hop head. If I don't like you the first time I hear you, sometimes I don't get back.
Yeah, yeah. And look, ain't nothing wrong with that.
We might surprise
you. Yeah, like it's nothing wrong with going back just to check on it, and see if like, yo, did I hear?
Because I see Kill going crazy for it all the time. So I and like I said, everybody from the pod also is like, yo, Cooks is that dude. And so I'm like, all right, I guess so. But Benny and Freddie Gibbs, and you know what I'm saying? Like I've been distracted this year by the projects I was really fell in love with. So I'm gonna get to it.
And look, to me, that's what it's about, right? Like what was connecting with you. You know what I'm saying? Like I just mentioned an album that's kind of divisive, right? There's some people like it, there's some people who like, yeah, that's not what I was looking for. Right. So I get it, and I feel the same way. I have Stove God as my honorable mention. I could add another one because I had 1 million albums down. But I felt the same way on my first listen. I was like, yo, man, I don't want to hear no more niggas saying mix the coke with the coke, watch your bubble turn white into coke. I don't want to hear that shit no more. Like, I'm tired of these ultimate coke niggas. Like, it's driving me crazy. But man,
bad news. We're getting a Pusha T album this coming year, but we'll get there.
Pusha T is probably the only one where I'm like, I'll listen. I'll take some more. You know what I'm saying? I'll take a little bit more coke raps. Because I feel like he levels up on it every time he does it. You know what I'm saying? He finds other ways. Yeah, he's like King Coke rap. You know what I'm saying?
So
like
I think your man's trying to take his title. Benny. I think Benny's trying to take his title.
I think Stove God trying to take his title because man, that dude was he done gave us the entire recipe of how to cook coke, like the whole joint. But I mean, the thing with me that made me like it and start to like it a lot was the production, and then I started to listen to him more, and I started to be like, yo, he got an ill flow, and now I see what he's doing with the bars. You know what I'm saying? Because I stepped away from the content and just focused on his technique. And I'm like, you're right. No one is rapping like that. Nobody
raps like Stove God.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not a he's on a 1 2 3 bar or 1 2. No, he is like everywhere, but he's still on beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he got the voice for it. He got the skill, and he had the production.
I think he rapped with Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, he used to be down with Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, he's down with Busta Rhymes. I think
now, because Rock Marciano did the production, by the way. We also got to mention that.
So, and Rock Marciano used to be in Flip Mode.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's a song called "The Heist" with Ray Ghost and Rock Marcy. That's a legendary song for me. It's a Busta record. That's crazy.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember.
Yeah, man, dope album. I know it's in a lot of people's top 5. He probably like quote unquote rookie of the year for a lot of people, as far as the guy putting out a project. And what I appreciate the most about it is he put out one, right? He ain't drown that one album out by putting out 15 other albums that just make you be like, yo, man, I'm enjoying this shit. Why you got 7 more? Like you want to enjoy the rest of the projects, but you still eating off the first. And he's done a couple of features that stood out and made me feel like, I'm looking for a part 2 or a new album from him going forward. Especially with Rock Marciano's production, I think it was perfect, like a perfect pairing with that album. My last album out of my top 5 is Run the Jewels 4. I think honestly, I just love their production. I think I just love their pairing. I love their subject matter, the energy that comes behind their records. I think when Run the Jewels 3 came, I think I had a little fatigue. I think they had a little fatigue also because it was nothing in comparison to their debut and Run the Jewels 2. But Run the Jewels 4 was like right on time with that sound, and somehow it didn't sound the same, but it kind of did in a lot of ways. And I like how, and you would have never thought this, but I like how Killer Mike and LP play off of each other. They're really a good pairing, you know what I'm saying, as far as their voice and how they rhyme and what they talk about. And again, the production, man, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the Ooh La La joint. It was cool, DJ Premier and Greg Knights, but probably liked a couple of other joints on there. Yankee and the Brave is crazy. Just like Goonies versus E.T. Like the titles are just ridiculous. But at the end of the day, man, I think when I was going through all the albums I liked this year, and when I started to, press play on them again, it was kind of like what's hitting me the same way it hit me the first time I hit play. Like that excitement, you know what I'm saying, when you hear it. Like you said, Earl, you was riding around wasting gas because you was loving the Benny song so much. And that's the kind of feelings that I look for in my top 5. Like, all right, what can I hit play on? And I'm not starting to think about something else or trying to force myself to listen to this because I got to decide if it's in my top 5. So Run the Jewels 4 was one of the best albums of the year for me. Tone, real quick, what you think about Run the Jewels 4 album that dropped in 2020?
Man, believe it or not, it's one of the ones I had on my list that I had to do knowledge on. I haven't heard it. I have not heard that album, man, and I had it down to do the knowledge on the other month, man. I just somehow it evaded me, man. So I have to go back and listen to it. I like Killer Mike. Killer Mike has always been a dope MC. You know what I'm saying? I always had dope flow, dope lyrics, beats that matched his style, and I like him. You know what I'm saying? So, and I like them together. But nah, I didn't hear this one this year, man. Like, oddly enough, man. But I'm gonna make sure I listen to it before January 1st.
Yeah, no doubt. What about you, Earl?
It was dope. I know it came out, I think, early June, maybe, like beginning of the summer.
Yeah.
Where niggas is sticking that toe out the front door finally from lockdown. And it was one of the first albums I remember sitting outside and playing with a couple of my homeboys in the Fifth of Liquor. You know what I'm saying? Mike's got one of the best voices ever.
Yeah.
And it's him and LP have always had great chemistry, even before Watch the Throne, the album that LP did. You know what I'm saying? But I've been a fan of LP since Raucous. So the niggas make great music apart, and when they come together, they don't miss. But they had gotten into a rut, and this was a different sound. And I think the rah-rah of all the things that were going on just on Earth at the time, you know what I'm saying, with the social justice stuff, really motivated Mike this time, and we got a good sound out of this record.
Yeah, exactly, man. Totally agree. So, Earl, let's just come back to you. What was your, like, it would have been in your top 5, but you like it could only be 5, but if it could be 6, this honorable mention would be your 6.
So it's an album by Baltimore MC J Royale, a great follow-up project to his last album that might be a classic, but it's called the Baltimore Housing Project. If you get a chance, just sit and listen to this. It's one of those. It's a complete album. You know what I'm saying? It puts you back in the mindset of that golden era hip hop. It's a lot of movie quotes that are and whatnot for his skits that just really put you back in the mindset. But then the nigga can rap. He rap niggas out the gym, and he does a good job at capturing a feel. There's a song on there called Charles S. Dutton that the hook is just Charles S. Dutton quotes, and it's man. Listen, Royale puts together amazing albums in an era where niggas just care about how many streams they can get on a single, and that's why I think Royale put a really dope project out. I can't wait. I'm trying to find the wax now, But that album was just it's really good, man. Baltimore Housing Project, J. Royale.
Yeah, I heard that joint. I remember my first experience with hearing his music when I came back to strictly hip hop. I think like 2014 or something like that. As host, and obviously, I'm trying to put my ear back to the streets of Baltimore as far as hip hop to make sure they get radio play. And I remember I heard a track from him, and I was like, "Yo, who the fuck is this dude? Like, this dude is," it was like for me, like how we used to dig for the show. It was like, "Oh yeah, I need to play this pronto." You know what I'm saying? And I listened to this new album, and you're right, man. You're 100% right. This dude is dope. He's special. Let me not just say dope because I say that for a lot of shit. He's really special, you know what I'm saying, with the bars. And I like cats that, because a lot of cats don't depend. It don't matter what city you come from, you know what I'm saying. Even with Brooklyn having some legendary artists, there's a bunch of MCs in Brooklyn, but only certain people know how to really rep their city, you know what I'm saying, properly, where the people who live there feel like they're repping the city, but the people who don't know them learn about their city through their lyrics. And I feel like you said, having something like Charles S. Dutton, knowing that, this is rock, knowing that rock was the show rock was based in Baltimore, like little things like that give you some culture, you know what I'm saying? And you feel like you want this person to be the tour guide to the city that maybe you only know because you just saw the wire. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
stuff like that.
The 1,000-gram Figaro record with Sky Zoo is nuts.
Yeah, man.
Nuts.
Crazy. Tone, you ever heard of J. Royale? Have you heard that album?
Uh-huh.
What you think of that album?
Dope. Yeah, I haven't done the strong knowledge, but what I heard, I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was
pretty dope artist. Check him out, man. J. Royale.
Yeah.
Tone, what's your honorable mention for 2020?
Well, I think I might go with Royce the 5'9", the allegory, man. It wasn't a book of rhymes for me, but it was damn close. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Royce is one of those MCs, man, who actually, as an overall artist, he just kept getting better with time. Like, we all knew he could spit. He was spitting back in the early days with Eminem and all of that. I mean, he always could rhyme. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was never in question. But him as being more vulnerable, opening up as an artist and things of that song structure and things like that, it just kept getting better. You know what I'm saying? And Russ is one of those people. Anytime I see him doing a freestyle or drop a new song, and he had a song a couple years ago called "The Son of Greg" or something like that, and I was like, oh my God, like he hasn't been missing in a couple of years now. You know what I'm saying? And the Allegory was just another very dope album that he's done over the last few years, man. And it could have easily been in my top 5, man. But I really like Royce the 5'9", man. Always been a fan, even more of a fan in 2020 than I probably was 10 years ago.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the Allegory was definitely one of those albums that if somebody had in their top 5, I wouldn't even be mad at them. Lyrically, like you said, man, Royce is just on another level, man. Like it's when you hear, sometimes when I hear some of those bars, I'm like, I think about like when I write, right? I'm thinking like this nigga had to have like the family was gone. It was just him. He just turned the beats up and fucking paper everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And he just writing because to think, to be that intricate with your lyrics and it makes sense. And to be able to perform it in the way he performs it. And again, another rapper that's like really articulate when he spits his bars. You just admire that, you admire his craft and his dedication to what he wrote.
He's MC, man. He takes the craft serious. Rhymes are serious. He said that he felt better after he got sober. You know what I'm saying? As far as like just his vision and how he was able to just really put things together more effectively, man, when he wasn't drunk anymore. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, man, he doesn't make a mockery of the culture. He raps. He can rap his ass off. You tell me when you heard a whack ass Rush the 5'9" verse, because I don't remember one ever. Even if I didn't like the beat, the verse is on point.
Yep, always.
Always.
What you think about that album, Earl?
I think the thing that was really special about the Allegory, it didn't make my top 5, but it would have been one of my, 2 or 3, honorable mention, is that Royce produced this album himself.
Yep,
he taught himself. He taught himself the program or whatever. He on the phone with Primo, and Primo is giving him tips on the phone on how to make beats. And he was doing this. By himself. So when you say you can see that he was sitting there listening to these beats, it's because he was making them beats and then rapping to them. It's like when Royce gets in his beat bag, because I don't think he's gotten his bag yet as a producer. I think he could be very dangerous, but from when Layers came out and then Two Book of Ryan and into the Allegory, Royce has become my favorite OG rapper, period. Where he's giving all the young rappers game and he's still making amazing music himself. So he's not in the way of them niggas. He's not trying to make their hits, but he's just making consistent good music, man. Royce is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. I 100% agree, man. So for you, the viewer, the listener, you know what I'm saying, what was in your top 5? Did you have any of the albums that we mentioned? Did you have some we didn't mention? I know there's plenty of them that came out that would have appeared in a number of people's top 5. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Now, fellas, I want to end with this because, 2020's been a year, right? But we know 2021 is around the corner. We are optimistic. There's a couple of things that I thought would happen that haven't happened. A couple of things that have happened. But what's something... and I'm gonna come to you, Tone. What's something in 2021, hip hop wise, you want to see? Whether that's an album, whether that's something overall for the culture. What's something you want to see in 2021?
All right. So 2 things for me, real quick. One, man, I really want to stop seeing so many young guys getting killed. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of seeing money stacks, platinum teeth, and guns on IG. Because it's leading these young kids into damn death, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of these young rappers. Some of them are just little young dope boys who got on YouTube making some songs, so they call everybody a rapper now. But nevertheless, I like to see these young guys not down over some bullshit in 2021 and having hip hop attached to it. You know what I'm saying? So that's 1. 2, man, like real talk. I want a Jay-Z album next year, man. You know what I'm saying? Jay sounds so good on Electronica's album, man, that I want to hear him maybe get with one producer again, like he did with No ID on that 444. Give me 10 to 12 tracks of hotness, maybe with one producer, man. I like to hear that, man. But that's it.
What about you, Earl? What's something you want to? Something you want to see or hear, or album, or a comeback, whatever it may be in 2021?
For me, all right. So the last thing I did before lockdown, beginning of March, is the last public outing was a Little Brother concert. I think I got 3 Fonte verses in 2020, and it was not enough. I need, if not a Fonte project, because we just got an LB album last year. I at least need like a foreign exchange with verses on it. I need more Fonte verses in 2020, and I need albums from the young boy big 3. Remember the Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas? That conversation for the young boys is Drake, Kendrick, and Cole, and I need an album from all 3 of those guys this year because them niggas were very, very absent this year, and it was noticeable. But I get it; we was all locked up, and you didn't have any reason to put an album out as a AAA artist when you know niggas wasn't going outside for it, except for Atlanta and outside like them Baltimore niggas.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep the mask on. Wash your damn hands. I want all of that, which I just mentioned. I think for me, I like to chase. I probably did this last time. One of them kind of came true. We didn't really get what we wanted, but it did happen in 2020. That was the J Electronica stuff. But I wouldn't mind having a Mobb Deep album, right? Like, is Havoc sitting on a couple of tracks that him and Prodigy worked on? You know what I'm saying? Can he do a Premiere, what Premiere did, and put together some stuff they had and just formulate it to like maybe one last Mobb Deep album? You know what I'm saying? It ain't got to be long. I mean, I wouldn't mind a couple of guest appearances. They've done that. But just one last go at it because of, you know, Prodigy dying so suddenly. And he did probably more solo stuff, and we didn't really get like a Mobb Deep send-off album the way we did with Tribe, and you know, obviously like what we kind of got with Gangstar, with what Premier did. And besides that, the thing I'm going to ask for every year, and it'll probably happen this year, because that divorce settlement is going to be crazy. I want Detox, Dr. Dre. I see all these West Coast niggas during the pandemic in the studio, and I'm like, why is the whole Death Row in the studio? Maybe it's on Snoop's new album that's about to come out, but I would like to think that maybe it's not called Detox, but what was Detox? Dre actually releases it, because Dre usually don't miss, man. Like he usually don't miss when it comes to those types of projects. But that's just me being hopeful for 2021.
I would not hold my breath for a Dre project. Dre slow as molasses when you put it in the refrigerator, man.
I said J Electronica on our last podcast, and we got it. So might as well just keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Even though, like Tone said, that one that was supposed to be the original album, I was like, wow, man, I feel like I need to pray listening to this shit. But nevertheless, that's the show for us for this time. You know what I'm saying? For 2020, we put out a number of shows. You know what I'm saying? This season of That Time in Hip Hop, from the Source Awards to Jay-Z versus Nas, a couple of joints like that, you know what I'm saying? Hype men in the game like Flavor Flav and Freaky Ty, Spliff Star, don't forget Spliff Star. So definitely feel free to go back and watch and listen to a number of those episodes, because they don't get old. Even us naming our top 5 here and now, some of these albums we might be calling classics years from now. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to look back and say, yo, I remember when those dudes talked about that album. It's definitely dope what we're doing here, because we're also, there are a number of people who don't know what came out this year. They love hip hop. They don't have no time to be digging around. So they look for shows like this that say, yo, this was hot. This was hot. And I think we did an excellent job of breaking down why we like these albums and why we like these artists. And if you feel like we done sold you on a bunch of dudes' albums, we did our job. You know what I'm saying? Because the job of this show is to preserve hip-hop music and culture, and that's what we're doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So I want to give a big shout out to you, Earl, for coming through, being our first guest ever on That Time in Hip Hop. You know what I'm saying? Check out his podcast. Yeah, no doubt, man. Check out his podcast, Where's Buffy? Matter of fact, you give him all the info, man, all that stuff.
Hey, man, IllFam79 on your social media choice, but way more importantly, at Where's Buffy and at Black Rasslin, you know what I'm saying, all the podcasts I'm a part of, blackrasslin.com, where'sbuffy.com. You like hip-hop with a little comedic edge, come over, check out Where's Buffy. If you are a black fan of professional wrestling, Black Rasslin is the move for you. You know what I'm saying? We just interviewed Kaz, you know what I'm saying, one of the ex-WWE writer last week, which was but it got a pretty good response, man. So you know, check us out. And once again, thanks for having me. This isn't the first time I've argued with you gentlemen. I have listened to the show for the stretch of it, and I argue with y'all in my car, like, no, I like this song better. Y'all bugging all the time, and I will at y'all, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate y'all.
No doubt. And for people who are wondering, yes, links to his podcast will be in the description of this podcast. You already know the homie Tony from intothedome.com got the articles for y'all, man. It's not just hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's hip hop there. The man he loves hip hop, but also he has a number of articles there about Black music in general, deep dives on artists who inspired some of your favorite artists. It's always good to learn about the people who inspired the people you like, because that gives you a deeper insight into their music and their motivations, as well as the legends he's talking about on intothedome.com. I'm Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. Again, you can subscribe to this channel, the B-Roll Network, for more content regarding hip hop, and a couple of times video games. You might see me shoot niggas up while I'm taking Call of Duty and fucking talking about hip hop at the same time online. I'm getting kind of good at it. I'm not supposed to be good at 40. I'm supposed to be trash, but I'm getting kind of good at killing these motherfuckers. But nevertheless, man, we appreciate everybody for coming through. You know what I'm saying? Be safe. Have a happy new year, happy holidays, and all of that. And go out and support real hip hop. Peace.
Drop it on the random.